Hello, welcome to Unlocking Buddhism. Have you ever caught yourself doing something, again, that you swore you'd stop? You felt strong, determined, sure that this time would be different. But a few hours later, there it was again. That same habit, that same loop. And you're left wondering, why do I keep doing this? But here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with you. We all have these loops, these invisible patterns that quietly shape our days. Some are small, like checking your phone the second you wake up. Some are bigger, like eating when you're not hungry, staying up way too late, or avoiding that one hard conversation you know you need to have. And it's not about being lazy. It's not about willpower. It's about something deeper, something no one really teaches us growing up. How habits form, why they stick, and what it actually takes to break free from the ones that are holding us back. That's what this video is about. It's not a list of tips. It's not a motivational speech full of cliches. This is a story, a walk through the real, messy process of change. The kind that doesn't happen overnight, but the kind that lasts. We're going to explore why your brain clings to comfort, why discomfort feels so scary, and why even when you know what's wrong, it still feels impossible to stop. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what you can do, right now, with who you are and what you have. Not just to stop a habit, but to build a life where that habit no longer has a place. So before we dive in, I want you to pause for a second and think about this. What's one word that comes to your mind when you hear the word habit? It could be anything. Whatever it is, drop it in the comments, because sometimes naming something, even with one word, is the first step toward transforming it. There's something strange that happens with habits. You don't really notice when they begin. One day you do something, maybe to pass the time, to feel better, to distract yourself. And the next thing you know, it's a part of your routine. It sneaks into your life without asking for permission. And suddenly, it's not something you do. It's something you rely on. Take a moment and think about it. That reflex to open your phone every time you're alone. That scroll that starts with one video and ends 2 hours later. That little snack after dinner that somehow feels like a reward for surviving the day. It's not always big. It's not always dramatic. That's the point. It's quiet, familiar, almost invisible. But over time, that harmless little habit starts building something you don't want. Maybe it's a sense of restlessness you can't explain. Maybe it's brain fog, low energy, frustration, or even sadness. You feel stuck, like you're spinning your wheels. You're tired, but you haven't really done anything. You're distracted but can't remember what you were even thinking about. Days go by and it's like you're there, but not fully present. And here's what makes it worse. A lot of us feel guilty about it. We say things like, I should be better than this. And then comes the self-criticism, the disappointment, the shame. You start believing there's something wrong with you, that you're just lazy, or weak, or broken. But that's a lie. Because the truth is, the real reason we keep falling into these habits isn't weakness. It's that we don't see the whole picture. We don't realize what's really going on beneath the surface. Bad habits are like icebergs. What you can see, the behavior, is just the tip. Underneath, there's something deeper driving it. Something emotional. Maybe even something painful. And unless you understand what that is, you'll keep going in circles. You'll try to force change and it'll work for a day or two. Then the old pattern returns, stronger than before. You can't fight what you don't understand, and you can't change what you don't see. Here's the thing, habits, even the bad ones, are not your enemy. They're your mind's way of solving a problem. They show up to protect you, comfort you, help you feel safe or less alone. Sometimes, they're trying to fill a gap that's been there for years. Sometimes they're trying to keep you from feeling something you don't want to feel. So if you really want to change, you don't start by trying to be stronger. You start by getting curious, not judging, just noticing. You ask yourself, what's going on right before I reach for that thing? You don't shame the habit. You listen to it. You learn from it. You treat it like a messenger, not a monster. And over time, something shifts. You stop being at war with yourself. You stop seeing your habits as flaws. You start seeing them as signposts, Signals that something inside you needs attention. And when you follow those signals, when you go deep enough, you reach the place where real change lives. It's not about fighting the habit harder. It's about uncovering what it's been hiding. Because once you know that, once you really see what you're dealing with, you're no longer blind. And when you're no longer blind, you're no longer trapped. You can take your power back, slowly, steadily, and for good. There's something incredibly frustrating about knowing what you should do and still not doing it. You've probably had one of those days, the ones where you wake up ready to make a change. You tell yourself, this is it. Maybe it's about quitting that habit that's been eating away at your time, your health, or your peace of mind. Or maybe it's finally getting started on something you've been putting off for way too long. You feel focused, motivated. You're convinced this time will be different. And then, it isn't. A few hours go by. A trigger shows up. A moment of stress, boredom, loneliness, discomfort. And before you even realize it, you've fallen right back into the same old pattern. Like a reflex. Like your body remembered how to betray you before your brain even had time to object. And now, you're not just doing the thing you wanted to quit. You're carrying the weight of knowing you did it again. That's self-sabotage. But let me tell you something that most people don't understand. Self-sabotage isn't about being broken. It's not about lacking discipline or being lazy. It's about fear. It's about your mind doing what it's always done, trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. See, deep down, our habits, even the destructive ones, are built around comfort, around safety, around avoiding pain. So when you try to step outside that zone, when you try to change, a part of you panics. Even if the old way is hurting you, at least it's familiar. At least it's predictable. And that, to your brain, sometimes feels safer than the unknown. So your mind starts to resist, not openly, not loudly, but subtly. And with those quiet justifications, you're lured back into the cycle, again and again. And this is where the second layer of pain begins, the one people rarely talk about, the inner hypocrisy. That moment when you're doing something you know is wrong, and yet you keep doing it. That crack between who you are and who you pretend to be starts widening. Maybe you tell your friends you're working on yourself. Maybe you even post online about growth, healing, discipline. But when you're alone, you know the truth. You know how many times you've promised yourself a change and broken it. Quietly, silently, repeatedly. It's like living two lives. One on the outside, for everyone else to see, and another on the inside, full of guilt, shame, and silence. And the longer that split exists, the harder it is to feel whole, to feel real, to feel proud. But here's the most dangerous part. When the pain of that inner hypocrisy grows too big to carry, most people don't choose honesty. They choose to numb it. They drown it out. They tell themselves it's not that bad. They hang around people who do the same things, just to feel normal. They build a world where the bad habit is not just tolerated, it's justified. And little by little, they become strangers to their own truth. They stop trying, or worse, they stop believing. But there's another path. It's not the easier one. It's not always comfortable, but it's real. And it begins with one of the scariest, yet most freeing things you can ever do. Telling yourself the truth. No more sugarcoating. No more hiding behind half excuses. Just you, standing face to face with the truth of your actions. You don't have to tell the whole world, but you do have to tell yourself. Because that honesty, that's the turning point. That's when things begin to change. Not perfectly, not quickly, but finally. Because once you stop pretending, you can start healing. You can start showing up for yourself not just on the good days, but especially on the hard ones. You can start rebuilding trust with the only person whose approval truly matters, you. And it starts with a single powerful choice, to value truth over comfort. Because comfort might keep you where you are, but truth will set you free. There's a moment no one prepares you for, the space between understanding what needs to change and actually being able to change it. It's one of the loneliest places to be. You've had your insight. You've seen the truth. You know, without a doubt, that something in your life isn't working. A habit, a pattern, a mindset. You can describe it in detail. You can explain how it's holding you back. You've even felt the urgency to stop it. That fire, that clarity. But then, nothing happens. You keep falling into the same hole, even though you can see it coming from a mile away. You walk toward it with your eyes wide open, thinking, this time I'll step around it. But somehow you're down there again. And when you climb out, if you do, all you can say is, I don't understand. I know better. That question, that tension, is where most people give up. Because no one told us how hard it is to live in that space between knowing and doing. No one talks about how heavy it feels to carry awareness without transformation. It's not ignorance anymore. It's not denial. It's something deeper, something more painful. It's the ache of watching yourself repeat a cycle you fully understand, and still feeling powerless to stop it. That's when self-hatred starts to creep in, quietly, slowly. You start believing that maybe this is just who you are, that maybe you'll never change. And that voice in your head, the one that used to cheer for your progress, starts to sound more like a critic than a coach. Every failure feels heavier. Every misstep feels like proof that you're not enough. But here's what almost nobody tells you. This space, this in-between place, is not failure. It's transformation in progress. Change is not a straight line. It's a struggle, a fight. Not against the habit itself, but against the part of you that's afraid of living without it. That fear doesn't disappear just because you understand something. If anything, it gets louder, more subtle, more manipulative. The truth is, insight is just the first crack in the wall. It's important, yes. It shows you there is a wall, but knocking it down? That takes time, repetition, patience, and yes, pain. Because that's what this space demands of you. The willingness to sit with discomfort, to watch the craving rise and not answer it, to feel the pull of the old habit, to hear the story your mind tells you. It's okay just once. You've earned it. And say no anyway. Not because you hate yourself, but because you're finally ready to love yourself enough to do the hard thing. And some days you won't succeed. That's the reality. There will be relapses, slips, setbacks, but none of them mean you're not changing. In fact, they are part of the change. They are your training ground. Every time you get back up, every time you face the same demon and last a little longer, you are rewiring yourself. You are building strength. You are learning how to stand when the ground shakes beneath you. So if you're stuck in that painful middle, where you know but haven't yet become, don't give up. You are not broken. You are in the process of becoming someone new. And that process, by its nature, is hard. It's meant to be. Because real change doesn't happen on the surface. It happens deep inside you, in the part of you that used to run, but now stays. That used to escape, but now chooses to feel. It's not comfortable, but it's real. And it's the path to freedom. If there's one thing that surprises most people on the journey to real change, it's this. Clarity alone isn't enough. You can read every book, watch every video, hear every piece of advice. You can know your bad habit inside and out. You can understand the psychology behind it, trace it back to childhood, name every trigger and every consequence. But until you're willing to sit with what that habit was helping you avoid, nothing actually changes. Because here's the raw truth. Every bad habit is a shortcut to escape something uncomfortable. And when you try to take that shortcut away, your mind will fight you like it's fighting for its life. It will plead. It will bargain. And if you're not prepared, if you're not rooted, you'll believe those thoughts. You'll fall for them, again and again. So what do? What breaks the loop? It's not more willpower. It's learning a skill that most people never develop. The ability to be deeply uncomfortable and not run from it. You have to stop trying to fix the discomfort. You have to stop trying to make it go away. Instead, you have to get still. You have to feel it, fully, and stay. Just stay. It's in that staying, in that quiet, uncomfortable space, that the magic happens. But to stay there, to not escape, you need a foundation. And that foundation is made of three things: honesty, attention, and discomfort. Honesty is the starting point. Not surface-level honesty, but the kind that makes your stomach turn a little. The kind that strips away the excuses and demands you face what's real. When your mind says, "I'll quit tomorrow," honesty says, "You've said that 100 times, and you didn't." Honesty isn't about being cruel to yourself. It's about being real with yourself. Without it, there's no progress. You'll stay stuck in stories you've outgrown. Then there's attention. Most people go through their days barely aware of what they're thinking, feeling, or doing. They act out habits automatically, like sleepwalkers. But attention wakes you up. It lets you observe your mind, not obey it. When you're paying attention, you start to see the patterns, the little spark that sets the craving in motion, the moment you start reaching for the phone, or the snack, or the distraction. And in that split second, you get a choice, a window, a chance to decide if you want to keep following that path or not. That window, that tiny space between impulse and action, is where your freedom lives. But you can only use it if you're watching, if you're awake. And finally, the part most people avoid, discomfort. We've been taught to fear it, to silence it, to run from it at all costs. But discomfort is not the enemy. It's the teacher. Discomfort shows you where the wound is. It shows you where the healing needs to happen. And when you stop running from it, when you stop trying to smother it with habits and distractions, you start to build something powerful, resilience. Because here's a truth worth remembering. You don't need a life that's always comfortable. You need a life where you're strong enough to face what's uncomfortable, without falling apart. You'll realize something surprising when you allow yourself to feel discomfort without trying to fix it. It doesn't destroy you. It passes, like a wave. It rises, it crashes, and then it's gone. And each time you sit with it, you get stronger. You stop fearing it. And slowly, you stop needing the habit that used to numb it. This is how real change happens. Not in giant moments of inspiration, but in these quiet moments of resistance. In the space between the craving and the choice. In your decision to stay honest, to stay aware, and to stay present, even when everything in you wants to run. Over time, you become someone different. Not someone who never feels discomfort, but someone who no longer bows to it. And that's the moment when the habit starts to lose its grip on you. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer owns you. You feel the urge, and you let it pass. You hear the voice, and you don't believe it. You feel the discomfort, and you don't run. You sit, you breathe, you stay. And in that staying, you become free. So here you are. You've walked through the fire. You've looked your habits in the face. You've told yourself the truth, sat with the discomfort, resisted the urge to run. You've done what most people spend their whole lives avoiding. You've stopped lying to yourself. But now comes a different kind of challenge. The kind that doesn't scream like temptation or burn like shame. It's quieter, subtler, but just as powerful. It's the question, what now? Because when you've spent so long pouring time, energy, and emotion into something that didn't serve you, something that numbed you, distracted you, gave you a sense of control, removing that thing doesn't leave you free. At first, it leaves you empty. And that emptiness is dangerous. It creates a vacuum. And vacuums don't stay empty for long. If you don't consciously fill that space with something better, something meaningful, the old habits will find their way back in, or new ones will sneak in through the same doorway. So, the real turning point isn't just when you quit the habit, it's when you replace it. When you begin to build a life that's so rich, so grounded, so genuinely nourishing, that the old habit no longer fits. Because here's a truth no one talks about. Bad habits don't thrive in good environments. They thrive in emotional chaos, in isolation, in boredom, in inner confusion, in lives that are flat and unstructured and full of unresolved pain. The habit, whatever it was, wasn't just a mistake. It was a survival mechanism. It existed for a reason. It filled a hole. So if you want to make sure it doesn't come back, you have to fill that hole with life. That doesn't mean you need to become some perfect version of yourself. It doesn't mean every day needs to be productive, or joyful, or Instagram-worthy. What it does mean is that you begin to build your life in a way that welcomes you in. A life that doesn't need escaping. And it starts small. You don't have to redesign everything overnight. But you do need to ask yourself questions most people never ask. What actually makes me feel whole? What gives me energy, not just stimulation? What relationships feel safe? What places make me breathe easier? What rituals bring me back to myself? You begin to pay attention to how you feel after things, not just during them. That's how you know what truly nourishes you. Maybe it's early mornings in silence. Maybe it's long walks in the woods. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's community, laughter, meaningful work, learning, helping others, moving your body in a way that feels free, not forced, creating something that no one else can, something uniquely yours. And slowly, piece by piece, you begin to build. You build habits that heal instead of numb. You surround yourself with people who make you feel seen, not small. You start treating your body like something worth caring for, not just something to fix or fight. You create space for stillness, for reflection, for joy that isn't rushed or earned, just received. And here's what starts to happen. Without even noticing it, your identity begins to shift. You're not fighting anymore. You're simply living, and living well. You're becoming someone who values peace over pleasure, truth over comfort, presence over distraction. The old habit might still whisper now and then. That's okay. It can whisper, but it won't control you. Because the life you're building, it's louder, it's more beautiful, it's finally worth staying for. And that's the secret no one tells you. You don't beat a habit by fighting it forever. You beat it by building something better, something bigger. A life that makes the pain of your past look small in comparison to the fullness of your present. This isn't just about breaking free. It's about coming home to a version of yourself you haven't seen in a long time. The version that doesn't need to escape because they've finally built a life worth being present for. And once you're there, you'll wonder how you ever settled for less. So here we are, at the end of this conversation. Or maybe the beginning of something much bigger. If you've made it this far, if you've stayed with me through this whole journey, then you already did something most people don't. You faced yourself. Not the version you show on social media. Not the version that says, "I'm fine," when you're not. But the real you. The one who knows there's something that needs to change. And maybe, for the first time in a while, is actually ready to do something about it. That's not small. That's not weak. That's powerful. Because let's be honest, breaking a habit isn't about flipping a switch. It's not about reading a quote and suddenly becoming a new person. It's about showing up again and again, especially on the days when it would be easier to disappear. It's about learning to sit in the discomfort long enough to see what's underneath. It's about choosing truth over comfort, even when no one's watching. And slowly, so slowly, you don't even notice it at first. You change, not into someone perfect, but into someone honest, someone stronger, someone free. You don't need to wait until everything in your life is fixed to feel proud of yourself. You just need to remember, every time you choose awareness over autopilot, every time you sit with a feeling instead of escaping it, every time you stay when you could have run, you're already doing the work. And the more you do that, the more you stop needing the habit that once held you hostage. This video isn't meant to be the end of your journey. It's a light, a mirror, a reminder that you already have everything you need to begin again. You're not waiting for the perfect plan. You're learning to trust your own process. Now, before you go, I want to ask you something. Take a second and feel this. No rush. If you had to describe where you are, emotionally, in just one word, what would it be? Drop that word in the comments. Not for me, for you. It's your chance to name it, to own it, to turn that feeling into something real, something you can work with. And if this video made you feel seen, or helped you understand yourself a little more, hit that like button, not for the algorithm, but because it helps this message reach someone else who's still in the dark. And if you want more content like this, real, honest, grounded, make sure you're subscribed. We're just getting started. There's so much more we're going to explore together. So take a breath, close this tab, and go live something honest, something real, something you won't need to run away from, because the life you deserve, it's already waiting for you to come home.